Tonight, breaking news, the showdown between the U.S. and Iran after Iran shoots down a U.S. Navy drone. Tonight, right here, the new U.S. surveillance showing the massive $100 million drone, as big as the wingspan of a 737, plummeting from the sky. Hit by the Iranians, they say it was in Iranian airspace. The U.S. says that's not true. And tonight, President Trump now saying maybe Iran made a mistake, that it could have been someone, quote, loose and stupid. And breaking now as we come on the air, what we're now learning after an emergency meeting in the Situation Room. Martha Raddatz and Mary Bruce standing by live. The stunning turn tonight in the war crime trial of a former Navy SEAL accused of murdering a prisoner. A fellow Navy SEAL taking the stand today and telling the court, I was the one who murdered the prisoner. The courtroom shocked, prosecutors yelling. We're tracking a major storm system up and down the East Coast tonight. The state of emergency already. Rob times it out. Also tonight, 72 police officers in Philadelphia alone taken off the streets. What they allegedly did, and tonight the other cities now investigating too. Joe Biden doubling down tonight, refusing to apologize.
Apologize for what?
His Democratic opponents pouncing. The manhunt tonight after an armed robbery at a bank in broad daylight today, the masked men terrorizing workers inside. And the heartfelt message tonight from a country star and his wife after their 3-year-old son died drowning in a pool. Tonight, why they hope parents will listen.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Thursday night. And we are monitoring this showdown between the U.S. and Iran tonight, reaching a new flashpoint after the Iranians shot down an American surveillance drone. Here are the pictures tonight from the Pentagon. New U.S. surveillance that they say shows that drone that was struck falling from the sky. They say the Iranians used a surface-to-air missile to do this. To give you an idea of what this drone looks like, this is the type of surveillance drone as wide as the wingspan of a 737. Iran says the U.S. was in Iranian airspace. The U.S. says they were not. President Trump suggesting today maybe the shootdown was a mistake, that it could have been someone, quote, loose and stupid. But tonight, news coming out of an emergency meeting in the Situation Room, and Martha Raddatz leads us off with new images tonight now from the Iranians, seeming to declare this was no mistake.
Iran claims this is its surface-to-air missile streaking towards the U.S. drone last night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, exploding on impact, a huge fireball filling the screen. The video is not verified. The U.S. military also releasing its own video of the stricken aircraft plummeting into the water. Shortly after, Iranian TV announces the shootdown, claiming it was in Iranian airspace. Its Revolutionary Guard Corps stating an enemy that violates our borders will not return and will be destroyed. The Global Hawk, one of America's most sophisticated unmanned surveillance aircraft, its wingspan as broad as a 737, took off from an airbase in the UAE hours earlier, monitoring the Gulf of Oman, where recent attacks were carried out on oil tankers, and over the Strait of Hormuz, that vital oil shipping waterway, in international airspace, says the U.S. When the drone was hit, the U.S. Navy surging its partner through rough seas to the debris field to recover what they could of the classified aircraft. At 10:15 a.m., after President Trump is briefed, he tweets this stern warning: Iran made a very big mistake. Just over an hour later, Iran's foreign minister firing back on Twitter: we don't seek war, but will zealously defend our skies, land, and waters. At 12:15, the U.S. military weighs in, pinpointing where the drone was hit, some 21 miles from the Iranian coast, well away from the 12-mile territorial limit, in sharp contrast to the Iranian claim the drone went down over its territorial waters.
This was an unprovoked attack on a U.S. surveillance asset that had not violated Iranian airspace at any time during its mission. Iranian reports that this aircraft was shot down over Iran are categorically false.
At 12:40 today, from the Oval Office, President Trump with further warnings.
They made a very bad mistake.
But then a strange twist, the president seeming to question whether Iran intended to shoot down the drone and even the significance of the attack.
I would imagine it was a general or somebody that made a mistake in shooting that drone down. I find it hard to believe it was intentional, if you want to know the truth. I think that it could have been somebody who was loose and stupid. that did it.
And Martha Raddatz, who was on the air with me today, with us live tonight. And as this was unfolding, Martha, tonight, even the president suggesting it could have been a mistake. But the Iranians, as you reported there, are not backing off their claims of responsibility tonight.
They aren't, David. And as you know, miscalculation has always been a fear during this incredibly tense time with Iran. But today, Iranian officials themselves made it very clear this wasn't some rogue Iranian officer accidentally firing a missile. Iran shot that drone down on purpose, David.
Martha Raddatz leading us off tonight. Martha, thank you. There was an emergency meeting in the Situation Room late today at the White House. Leaders of both parties urgently headed to the White House, and Mary Bruce is there tonight.
Late today, President Trump summoning congressional leaders to the Situation Room for an emergency briefing on Iran. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi with a warning.
I don't think the president wants to go to war. There's no appetite for going to war in our country.
Many Republicans are also urging caution.
Continue doing what we're doing. Military restraint, maximum pressure otherwise.
But some of Trump's top allies are encouraging the president to do more. Senator Lindsey Graham says Iran needs to get ready for some, quote, severe pain.
All I can tell you, if you're not willing to stand up to aggression, you're going to get hurt. Here's what I believe about Donald Trump. He's a deal maker. He's trying to avoid conflict. But this is truly a defining moment for him.
But the president says he's not being pressured into a conflict by his own team.
Do you feel like there are members of your administration who are trying to push you into conflict?
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, in many cases, it's the opposite. But I will say, look, I said I want to get out of these endless wars. I campaigned on that.
Trump also campaigned on ending the Iran nuclear deal, which he did last year. Speaker Pelosi says that's part of the problem.
When we walked away from that, we lost some credibility with our allies.
And tonight, former Vice President Joe Biden calls Trump's Iran strategy a self-inflicted disaster.
Mary Bruce with us live at the White House tonight. Mary, you're learning new details about the meeting in the Situation Room?
Well, David, coming out of that meeting, Republican leader Mitch McConnell told reporters that the White House is engaged in measured responses, while Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says he's worried that the president and his administration may be, quote, bumbling into a war. David.
All right, Mary Bruce and Martha Raddatz tonight. Thank you both. And our coverage of the U.S. and Iran for now. If there are any new developments, we will bring them to you. In the meantime tonight, that bombshell that stunned a courtroom today, it happened in the war crimes trial of a former Navy SEAL accused of murdering a captured ISIS fighter. A fellow Navy SEAL taking the stand, saying he was the one who killed the prisoner. Prosecutors shouting, the courtroom shocked. And here's ABC's Will Carr.
Good. Decorated Navy SEAL Edward Gallagher was upbeat this morning just before a bombshell exploded in his murder trial. One of his former team members took the stand and testified that he killed the wounded teenage ISIS fighter seen in this Iraqi TV video, not Gallagher. Prosecutors have accused Gallagher, a sniper and a medic, of war crimes, including the captured teen's murder. Today they called Special Operator First Class Corey Scott as a witness for their case. Scott told the court he saw Gallagher take out his knife and plunge it into the wounded prisoner. But then Scott, who's a medic as well and who has immunity in exchange for his testimony, said that he, not Gallagher, killed the teen by plugging his airway, claiming he acted to save the prisoner from being tortured by Iraqi forces. I knew he was gonna die anyways, Scott said. Caught off guard, the lead prosecutor raised his voice and accused the prosecution's own witness of changing his story and lying to protect his fellow SEAL. Scott later testified, Gallagher's got a wife and family. I don't think he should be spending his life in prison. Gallagher's defense attorney, who has maintained the charges were brought by disgruntled SEALs conspiring to take down a tough chief, pouncing, asking Scott, did Chief Gallagher kill this terrorist? No, Scott replied.
So let's get to Will Carr with us live tonight. Will, you've been tracking this case, and you said there in your report that this Navy SEAL who testified today had been granted immunity. So what does this mean after what he said today? Does he face possible charges?
Well, that means that he cannot be charged with murder, but he could still face a perjury charge. Part of the SEAL's creed is my word is my bond. Tonight, that SEAL says that he's the one who killed that teenager, not his boss, who's on trial. David.
Really something in court today, Will. Thank you. We're going to move on now to the severe weather threat at this hour. 59 million Americans in the possible path tonight. Already a state of emergency in parts of New Jersey. In fact, a month's worth of rain in 3 hours. Stranding drivers, this is I-295 in National Park, New Jersey, and triggering water rescues in Westville. The same system with damaging straight-line winds. This is Greenville, Texas tonight. This is wide-ranging, this system. Rob Marciano tracking it all. He's live in Colorado tonight. Hey, Rob.
Hi, David. We've had 80 damaging storm reports, including winds gusting to hurricane strength in South Carolina and right here in Colorado, where a tornado watch has just been posted. You see it there on the big radar scope. It includes parts of Nebraska and Kansas, but that larger, slower moving system on the East Coast still doing some havoc. Across the Carolina and Georgia coastline still have the severe thunderstorm watches, and Cleveland, Pittsburgh, boy, the flood threat remains real tonight. This thing is not going to wind out and dry out until tomorrow afternoon. And that Rocky Mountain storm dips in. We'll see a severe weather threat tomorrow from Nashville back in through Colorado, where we could see more in the way of damaging winds. David?
Right in the potential bullseye there in Colorado. Rob, thank you. And we're going to turn next tonight to Philadelphia, where 72 police officers have been taken off the streets after an investigation into racist Facebook posts and messages that encouraged violence. And it turns out Philadelphia isn't the only major city investigating tonight. ABC's Whit Johnson from Philly.
No justice!
Tonight, growing outrage at Philadelphia's City Hall.
We will not have racist police patrolling our streets.
72 of the city's police officers taken off the streets and placed on administrative duty under investigation for allegedly posting offensive and racist statements on social media.
It makes me sick, to be honest with you. It really makes me sick because we are in a position to know better.
The controversial posts exposed by a group called the Plainview Project, which compiled the Facebook activity of hundreds of individuals they identified as officers in 8 U.S. cities. Comments like "death to Islam," others promoting violence, one meme saying, "I'll just shoot you and be done with it," and multiple references to the Confederate flag. The more than 5,000 posts going back at least 8 years. The Philadelphia Police Commissioner threatening some officers may be terminated, prompting this response from the officers' union. It's premature and irresponsible for the commissioner to tell the public that police officers will be fired without a complete investigation. Our officers are entitled to due process just like any other citizen.
Whit Johnson with us live tonight from police headquarters in Philadelphia. And with this online database you speak of, includes thousands of Facebook posts, I know, from police officers in 8 different cities. And tonight you're learning that other departments plan a response as well.
David, that's right. Multiple cities are now taking action, including Dallas, which says it's now conducting an internal review. In St. Louis, 22 officers are also under investigation, 3 placed on administrative leave. David?
Whit Johnson with us tonight. Thank you, Whit. Now to the race for 2020, and Joe Biden refusing to apologize tonight after what he said about a time when Congress worked together. Biden citing segregationist senators. He said they were mean, that he didn't agree with them, but that they still worked together. His Democratic opponents pouncing tonight, and Biden standing firm. Here's ABC's Cecilia Vega.
Tonight, one by one, the Democratic presidential candidates are attacking Joe Biden, even as the former vice president defends himself.
There's not a racist bone in my body. I've been involved in civil rights my whole career. Period. Period. Period.
It comes after Biden talked about working with segregationist senators as an example of how he's able to do business with colleagues even if they disagree. He mentioned Georgia's Herman Talmadge, one of the meanest guys I ever knew. You go down the list of all these guys. Well, guess what? At least there was some civility. We got things done. And of Mississippi's James Eastland, Biden said, "He never called me boy. He always called me son."
To coddle the reputations of segregationists, it's misinformed and it's wrong.
Senator Cory Booker saying, quote, "I'm disappointed that he hasn't issued an immediate apology."
Are you going to apologize like Cory Booker
Apologize for what?
Cory Booker's called for it.
Cory should apologize. He knows better.
Vice President said I should know better, and this is what I know. As a black man in America, I know the deeply harmful and hurtful usage of the word boy and how it was used to dehumanize and degrade.
Other rivals pouncing too.
I don't think you have to be touting personal relations with people who were very brutal segregationists.
It's never okay to celebrate segregationists. Never.
And Cecilia Vega with us here tonight. Cecilia, Joe Biden taking serious heat here, but there are some top Democrats who have said publicly, stop piling on. This could hurt the whole party.
Yeah, exactly. Some say attacking one of their own is not a winning strategy. And among those, David, coming to Joe Biden's defense today, South Carolina's James Clyburn, the highest-ranking African-American in the House, he told Politico, quote, "You don't have to agree with people to work with them." David, we've also just learned that Joe